Hey there, I'm Daniel, and in this video I'm going to show you the different methods you can use in Pokemon Sun and in Pokemon Moon to shiny hunt. In this video I'll give you useful information to know, to make sure you know everything there is to it when wanting to get a shiny Pokemon. The different methods you can use to get a shiny Pokemon in Sun and Moon will be explained in detail, and I will also be giving you some useful tips and tools you can use in the closing parts here, so be sure to stay tuned for those. You can easily make use of the buttons on screen at any time to jump to the parts you find the most interesting, or find the timestamp in the description. First of all, what exactly is a shiny Pokemon? A shiny Pokemon is a Pokemon with a different sprite color. These can, for some Pokemon, be almost identical to the regular one, which makes it more difficult to spot when you find one, or be totally different. When you encounter a shiny Pokemon in the wild or see one in battle, you will see this little neat animation and hear a sparkling sound. So how do you get a shiny Pokemon? There are several methods you can use, and all possible shiny hunting methods in Pokemon Sun and Moon will be explained here in this video. I will also go over the respective shiny odds, the chance of actually finding a shiny Pokemon, for each of the following methods. Method 1. Random encounters, or RE for shortened. This method simply means that you want to go for full odds and try searching in the wild for a shiny Pokemon. What you do is simply to encounter a whole bunch of random Pokemon in the wild. You do not have to knock out a Pokemon for this to work, which means whether you want to knock it out and get some experience, or simply run, you're free to. The shiny odds for finding a random shiny in the wild is, in Pokemon Sun and Moon, 1 in 4096. A way you can increase this number is to get a hold of a shiny charm. This is a key item you're given as reward for completing the Alola Pokédex, which has 301 Pokemon, and will increase your chance of getting a shiny Pokemon by 300%. If you have the shiny charm and want to hunt for a shiny Pokemon using random encounters, your shiny odds will be 1 in 1365. Method 2. The Berry Method. This method is new as of Pokemon Sun and Moon and can only be used to find a shiny Crabrawler. It works exactly the same as with random encounters, but you will have a 100% chance of finding a Crabrawler. What you want to do is to find a pile of berries and interact with it. If you are lucky enough to find a Crabrawler, you then want to hit run the first turn. To make this more efficient, you can give the first Pokemon in your party the item Smoke Ball to enable you to flee from a Pokemon battle every time. The thing with the berry method is that as long as you run first turn, the Crabrawler will still be there after the battle, and you can interact with it again. What makes this possible to use in order to find a shiny Pokemon is that it will be a new Crabrawler for each time you interact with the berry pile. Method 3. SOS Battles. Another method you can use for shiny hunting is something called SOS Battles, which you have probably experienced at some point if you have played Pokemon Sun and Moon. To those of you who haven't, there is a new addition as of Sun and Moon that lets wild Pokemon call for help in need, and the Pokemon that are being called for can potentially be a shiny Pokemon. The way you want to do this is to make sure of 3 things. 1. You typically want to have made it to Wayla Volcano Park and beaten Kiawe's Trial, because if you have done this, you will in the Pokemon Centers unlock purchase option for the item called Adrenaline Orbs. This is an item that you can use one time per battle, and it will increase the chance of a wild Pokemon to call for help. A neat trick you can use here to skip turns when you need that is to try using another Adrenaline Orb. What happens is that you will get the message, "But it had no effect." On screen, you will skip a turn and you don't lose an Adrenaline Orb for some reason. 2. You need to make sure you have a Pokemon that knows the move False Swipe or Hold Back, which will always leave the wild Pokemon at 1 HP. However, if the wild Pokemon is burned, poisoned, or knows any self-damaging moves, you probably want to stay away from those kinds of moves. Maybe Heal Pulse can help you out instead. 3. You need to keep hitting the initial Pokemon for it to call out for another Pokemon, which means if you're hunting for a Pichu and it calls for help from a Happiny, you want to keep the Pichu on the field, because you will break the chain if not. So things you can do to make it easier for you. Have a high-leveled Pokemon with moves with a lot of PP. You can use Leppa Berries to regain 10 PP of any move. You can let your Pokemon hold a Leftovers to regain health. And at last, you absolutely need a Pokemon with a move Thunder Wave. This is because, if you so happen to find a shiny Pokemon, there are for some reason Pokemon with such a high chance for them to call out for help that you will never get to capture it. When you use Thunder Wave, it will both increase your chance of capturing the Pokemon, as well as making it less likely for it to call out for help. This actually happened to my girlfriend when we encountered a shiny Execute. The Execute would keep calling out for help without a limit, and if not, we had found out that Thunder Wave lowers the chance of a wild Pokemon to call for help, we would probably have lost the shiny. What was special about this shiny encounter was the odds for it to happen. Typically when you do shiny hunting using SOS battles, the shiny odds in Pokemon Sun and Moon are the following. If you have a chain length of 0 to 69, there will be a shiny odds between 1 in 4096 and 1 in 1024. To chain simply means to knock out a Pokemon and count how many Pokemon you have knocked out. After your chain has a length of 70, the odds will be 1 in 1024. There is, however, some obscurity when it comes to the chance of finding a shiny Pokemon using SOS battles when you have a shiny charm. While this is still under research, it seems to it being somewhere between 1 in 683 to 1 in 341. What happened with the shiny Execute encounter though was that first she encountered a shiny Execute with a shiny odds between 1 in 4096 and 1 in 1024, and then the following turn she found another shiny Execute. So there were two shiny Execute on the field at the same time. If we use the highest odds, 1 in 1024, the chance for something like this to happen is 1 in 1024 times 1 in 1024, which is 1 in 1,048,576. In addition, the chain length was only 50, which means that the odds are likely to be even higher. We did do a recording of that if you'd like to have a look when we caught it, or one of the two that is, which you will find a link to in the description. Another thing to mention when it comes to this method is that if you have a chain longer than 30, there is a guaranteed chance of a wild Pokemon to appear to have 4 perfect IVs. If you're not familiar with what IVs are, you can have a look at a video called Pokemon IVs Explained, which is in the playlist Best Videos, North Panther. Method 4. Poke Pelago. The Poke Pelago is a new addition as of Pokemon Sun and Moon, which lets you do activities with a Pokemon stored in your Pokemon computer, or PC for shortened. I will not go over how to use the Poke Pelago in this video, but rather how the shiny part of it works. Basically, there is a feature within this feature that allows wild Pokemon to come to your Poke Pelago. If that Pokemon happens to be a shiny, what you want to do to make it stay there is to come back the next day and interact with it and see if it wants to stay. If not, you come back the day after again and interact with it another time, and repeat the process, and hopefully the shiny will be yours. The odds for the Pokemon that visits your Poke Pelago to be shiny is said to be fairly high, likely to be 1 in 4096, but if you encounter 3 Pokemon at a time, that will be 1 in 1365. Those numbers are not final, but likely to be true. Method 5. Breeding and the Masuda method. Breeding is the name of the process when you put 2 Pokemon in the same egg group of opposite genders in the daycare that will make an egg to appear. There will be a future playlist on how to breed in Pokemon Sun and Moon, but for now I will only go over how the shiny parts of it works. The chance of breeding a shiny Pokemon is 1 in 4096. There are, however, some things you can do to increase this chance dramatically. First of all, you can obtain the shiny charm, which increases the odds to 1 in 1365. Secondly, you can make use of a method called the Masuda method, which will increase the chance to 1 in 512. To go over the Masuda method quite shortly here, it simply means to breed having 2 Pokemon from different nationalities. Perhaps you've gotten a German Joltik and a French Wailord? If they are of the opposite genders, and because they are in the same egg group, these Pokemon can breed. Method 6. Soft resetting, or SRs for shortened. Soft resetting is possible in front of and before certain circumstances in the game. This can be before you get your starter Pokemon, when you're about to catch a legendary, or in front of bubbling water when fishing. Instead of turning your 3DS off and on again when you want to try to interact with something another time to hunt for a shiny Pokemon, you do R plus L plus start or select. This will redirect you to the opening page in Pokemon Sun and in Pokemon Moon, and is a very fast way to reset the scenario to try again to find a shiny Pokemon. So, for the closing parts of this video, I did in the beginning promise you some useful tips and tools you can use when shiny hunting. First of all, patience is key and shiny hunting takes time if you want to find a shiny Pokemon. Do some multitasking and do something fun in the meantime. This can be watching videos, so for example, you can check out that video I mentioned earlier of my girlfriend and I catching the 1 in 1,048,506 chance shiny Execute. Or you can have a look at the playlist called Best Videos, North Panther, and watch some high quality Pokemon videos. Another thing can be to carry your 3DS with yourselves wherever you go, so you can make use of micro time to hunt for some shiny Pokemon, whether you are on the bus or waiting somewhere. The best tip I can give you though is to make a good habit of counting your encounters, hatched eggs, and chains. This will not only make it easier for you to know how you're doing as of odds, but also to motivate you when hunting. Perhaps you want to set a goal of doing 50 encounters a day, and all of a sudden you got yourselves a shiny Pokemon. You can always make use of a pen and some paper, but if I were to recommend you something neat, you should get yourselves a physical counter. If you've ever been to one of my live streams, you have probably heard the crispy sound when I press the button on my own counter. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but to have a physical item to hold in my hand to press when shiny hunting is overly satisfying. If you'd like to get a physical counter of your own, you can have a look at the link in the description. By using that link when buying one, you will help out the channel by giving additional resources as it is an affiliate link. So if you found any use of watching this video and would like to give something back, that's a very good way to do so. By using the link in the description when buying your own counter, you won't only help yourself, but the channel we have going here as well. That was it for this long video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new today and would like to have a look at some of the other Pokemon videos that are already available here on the channel for you to watch. You can have a look at the playlist called My Best Videos to find some more high quality Pokemon videos. If you'd like to subscribe and join our community, the NPCs, that would be very much appreciated. With that said, I'll see you again sometime, and until then, be your very best.